There's skilled and there's unskilled labor. And if you get yourself stuck in the unskilled labor category, there is always going to be a cap on your earning potential. If you don't have any skills, if you cannot do anything above and beyond just follow instructions, you are going to put a limit on what you can earn in life. That is why your education is so important, because you have to have a skill, something that nobody can take from you, and that allows you to demand a certain amount of wealth for your time. We can't get stuck in the unskilled labor part. This is why education of our children is so important. I keep telling people, and nobody wants to talk about this, but 85% of our young black boys and girls cannot read or do math at an acceptable level. And so all the stuff that we're supposedly fighting for, all of the talk about generational wealth, is going to be meaningless if the next generation is not even prepared to handle or receive that wealth. All the laws we pass, and they're not even going to be able to benefit from it, because they can't even compete at a basic level if they cannot do math and reading. And so we need to be preparing our children, not only with those basics, but with skills that cannot be taken away from them, because that entrenches you as a part of the economy. You add value. As a worker, as a consumer, you add value in the marketplace. No longer are you unskilled labor. You have a skill. Now, depending on what skill you choose, right? Whether that's STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, finance, business, right? A trade, mechanics, electrician, carpenter. There's so many options that you have available. But once you have that skill, nobody can take that from you. And that allows you to demand a certain amount from your time. Now, once you have put yourself in the skilled category of workers, now it's up to you to outwork your competition. If you want to stay there and just really earn what is based on your efforts, you can make millions of dollars. It's people in the people category of the economy that make millions of dollars off of their labor and their efforts. You can be rich as a skilled worker, depending on what skill you use. The problem is you can't build wealth because you will always trade your time for money. And so if you want to go to the next level of the economy, you have to go to the ideas and innovations. Right? These are the business owners. These are the risk takers. These are the people that step outside the box and say, I'm going to bet on me. Now, some people go straight to the ideas and innovations category and say, I'm just an entrepreneur. I just want to start a business. I want to try this. But sometimes skilled laborers, skilled workers decide that they're going to take their skill and create a business model around it. Right? If you are a physician and you decide to start your own practice, if you're a lawyer and you start your own firm, right? If you're an engineer and you decide to start your own engineering firm, any skill that you have, if you're a mechanic and you open up a mechanic shop, you have a skill that you can demand your time for, and you decide to take a gamble or bet on yourself to use that skill to become an entrepreneur. Once you are in the ideas and innovation space, basically, you control your outcomes, right? How you operate as a chief executive officer of your business, as a founder of your business, you are in control. The ship goes with you, up or down. And so from there, you truly do have an opportunity to create wealth, to create an asset. If your skill is good enough, if your business model is effective and efficient and valuable enough, you can sell that on the open marketplace. You are creating wealth. As a community, if we are going to participate in the success of economics, we have to embrace entrepreneurship and business ownership. But we got to do it beyond the way that we're doing it now. Because as it stands right now, of the 3 million businesses in our community, 95% of those businesses are owned and ran by one person. That means it's single owner businesses, right? Just somebody that's started a business and it's just them selling a product by themselves, right? So we haven't transitioned to become job creators or wealth builders outside of our own life and the income we generate. But if we're going to compete globally, if we're going to compete nationally, we have to embrace the entrepreneurship and the innovations and ideas in a way that not only creates income for ourselves, but creates value in the community, where we can become job creators of our own people, right? Where we could do the things that we need to do necessary to add and create that value. That's the step that we need to take. But we can't do that if we are not skilled laborers. We can't buy or start a mechanic shop if we can't work with our hands, right? And so we have to infuse those skills with the idea of being an entrepreneur so that now we become our own economy, right? And then the last part of the economy is the capital, the access to capital and the investment of capital. The access to capital has always been difficult for our community because other people control the banks. Other people control capital. Other groups of people gatekeep opportunity. That's changed in the past several years, and we figured out ways to circumvent that. But the fact of the matter is we have to participate in the economic system. We have to invest our capital by buying assets, by participating in the growth of the economy, and we have to be able to use leverage. We have to be able to have access to capital to expand and to grow. Now, my idea, people always say, right, we need more black banks. We need more black banks, and I agree with that. But banks are regulated, right, by the federal government. And so you have to follow the rules. You have to have certain amounts of capital. It takes hundreds of millions of dollars to have a successful bank. And you are at the whim of the regulations and typically, and more importantly, at the whim of the bigger banks to be able to be dictated to. In my opinion, instead of banks, we should think about our own credit unions. Credit unions, instead of being for-profit organizations, are nonprofit organizations. Credit unions, instead of being regulated by the federal government, are regulated by a completely different entity. Instead of costing 50 to hundreds of millions of dollars to start a bank, it costs anywhere as low as $500,000 to start a credit union. A credit union can be started by any type of organization or affinity group with members as low as 100 members. The reason why I think this is a good idea is because the credit unions allow us to establish our own baselines of lending in our community. If we have a credit union, now you don't have to go to the payday lender and pay 25, 30% interest where you can go to your community or your church or your organization credit union, right, and pay reasonable interest rates. You don't have to go to the local used car dealership and finance a car for 25%. You can go to your credit union and establish and build a rapport locally within our own community so that we borrow from ourselves and we invest and sell to everybody. We borrow from ourselves and we invest and sell to everybody. That by itself would decrease the amount of interest that we're paying collectively as a group, free up a tremendous amounts of cash flow, and it would allow us to recycle the dollar in our community. So instead of black banks, we probably need to think about black credit unions.